Okay, it's Monday, April 15, 2019. This is the Committee of the Whole meeting. We're going to do a roll call vote by committee. Finance and Safety Services Committee, Alderman Putoff. Ferrari. Here. Radke. Payton. Here. Mayor Harrell. Here. Public Services Committee, Alderman Waldorf. Here. Lukosius. Here. Sapienza. Ballard. Here. And Mayor Harrell. Here. First thing on the agenda is the minutes of the Committee of the Whole from March 4th.
I'll make a motion, we accept them, place them on file.
Second. Motion by Alderman Ferrari, seconded by Alderman Waldorf. All in favor? Aye. Next on the agenda, we have a presentation this evening from the mayor regarding the state of the city.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming out tonight. And I'll try and make this as pleasant as possible. You know, when we were just at we just had our State of the Cities that was put on by the Chamber, and they do that annually. And Mayor Eschbach was there, and Mayor Eschbach, he said that he cut his down to an hour this past State of the City that he did, and he said that he tried to keep it from not being boring. So he asked his administrative assistant, Kim, and he said, was it boring? She said, Bob, they're all boring. So anyway, and it was his final one because he's retiring after 20 years, and he did a wonderful job over in Ottawa. So I'm going to start with the police department. I'll start by sharing a number. Remember this number, 60.9. And over the last 13 years, Peru has had a 60.9 decrease in crime, and that's a staggering number. It's a multi-year downward trend, and current historic low in Part 1 crimes is a direct reflection of the hard work and commitment of the officers, detectives, and civilian support staff of our police department. Peru Police Department works hand in hand with members of our community, the residents, the businesses, the elected officials, with one goal in mind: to keep our city safe. Peru Police handled over 30,000 calls for service officers-initiated activities. Detectives were assigned to 108 cases. The Special Investigation and Enforcement Unit handled 46 cases. Our new community service officer completed more than 2,900 operational activities. 2,900 operational activities. He's a busy guy. Peru Police Department has a total of 374 community presentations and meetings in 2018. And this is a quote from Chief Doug Burnaby: per capita and per officer, we are the busiest police department in north central Illinois. To the Peru Police Department, thank you for a job well done. I want to, let's see, I'm going to move this to a different section. I have a tribute to Mr. Bill Vlasnik, but I'm going to move it to a different section, and I'll move on to our fire department. Continuing with our emergency responders, our fire department responded to 414 calls last year, and 414 calls is the busiest on record. The department is fully staffed with 5 full-time and 19 paid on-call firefighters. And I don't know what it is about our town here, but for some reason there's a black cloud over us on New Year's Eve. Because if you remember right, back in 2011, New Year's Eve, what we'll call now the Great West Clocks Fire, because it was quite a fire. And then this year, on New Year's Eve, we had the Wheatsack building, and I see Joe's here tonight, and you were the unfortunate one this past New Year's that you lost your building of many years on New Year's Eve. And I'd like to recognize and thank our fellow communities, fire and police departments, for the mutual aid to this call. The mutual aid to this call consisted of LaSalle, Mendota, Spring Valley, Utica, Winona, Earlville, Granville, Cherry, Cedar Point, Standard, Tonica, Oglesby, Troy Grove, and Ladd. Thank you to all those communities for your support in the mutual aid. It is estimated that this fire consumed over 500,000 gallons of water to extinguish the blade and protect the surrounding exposed buildings. While the building was regrettably lost, we were very fortunate. There were no injuries, and the fire did not spread to other areas. This is a credit to all who helped. And at this time, I would like to also recognize 3 of our firefighters who received back in last spring, about a year ago now, the Firefighters Excellence Award at the 25th Annual Fallen Firefighter Memorial and Firefighter Medal of Honors ceremony that took place on May 8th in Springfield, Illinois. This award is given for an act of service in the line of duty, demonstrating excellence and professionalism in service to the citizens in the state of Illinois. This story, we were on a mutual aid in our neighbors over in LaSalle. The building was totally engulfed, and the word came out that there was a handicapped elderly in the burning building. So the building was entered by Lieutenant Neil Nadolski, firefighter Ben Bentley, and firefighter Alex Duncan. They went into the building to rescue this person, and it was no vision whatsoever. It was just touch only to feel your place around the building. They did find the elderly person, and at that time, when they found the person, they were going to exit, and then exit was compromised. So they were stuck in the burning building. 3 firefighters, actually 4. There was one from LaSalle in the building, and the victim in no way out. So they searched the way around the building, finally found a window that they could access, ground floor, and they were able to pass the person out, and then they exited also. It was a pretty, by listening to Chief King, it was a pretty touchy situation, and it went very quickly, and their training was able to do what they needed to do to survive. I'm going to move on to human resources. Human Resources has developed a Health and Wellness Committee that includes employee representation from each of our departments. The original goal of the Health and Wellness was to promote the city's health and wellness initiative, as well as provide input and increase communication regarding employee benefit plans. It was quickly determined that employees' engagement is an essential part of our health and wellness, which is why the city is committed to increase Health and Wellness Committee-sponsored events to increase employee engagement and morale. Since its commencement, the Health and Wellness Committee has initiated multiple events created to increase healthy and fitness awareness. Multiple weight loss challenges have been conducted over the last year with a total of 793.3 pounds lost among 82 participants. That's an amazing number. I hope that everybody doesn't find that back, because as we all know, once we lose it, somehow the weight, we seem to find it again. But they're doing very well, and they started a new, it's a activity report challenge that just started up today. So at this time, the Health and Wellness Committee is researching and evaluating alternative health insurance plans that will result in a cost savings to the city and employees. It is currently being investigated by Human Resources. Peru City Council, the Health and Wellness Committee, and Human Resources have just recently implemented a vision insurance plan for our employees, and we had our first health and wellness picnic last year in the fall, which was well received by the employees, and all who attended had a wonderful time. Another employee picnic is planning on being held this fall with no date set at this time, and it's planned for a 5K run to kick it off in the morning of the picnic. The Health and Wellness Committee is currently organizing a golf outing for June 8th, 2019 at Seneca's Deer Park. All proceeds will benefit Special Olympics. Public participation is encouraged, and we look forward to seeing you there. For anyone interested, there are some golf forms in the back. Our electric department. Our electric department replaced, we had a storm roll through, and then we still don't understand what happened, because at the airport, the wind gusts were right around 20 miles an hour. But you may recall the poles that were down from Plank Road over to North Peoria Street, where we lost 12 poles in the High Line. It's a tribute to the planning in the city in the past, and in our wonderful electric department, because the loss of service was less than a half an hour in that event, because we have the whole city encircled. You have loops going back and forth in an X, and they're able to put people back in power. They're doing their normal maintenance at the hydro plant, which is running all the time when Mother Nature cooperates and the river cooperates with us. The new LED lighting at Washington Park, everybody that goes up and watches the baseball games at the Washington Park, at the Big Diamond, they notice that the new lights up there, the LEDs, they're very nice. Changed out 50 utility poles that are bad or broken, maintenance on tap changers, upgraded lights in the parking lot over here to LED lights, and the one behind Beagle's Hardware. And they installed new services to a host of places. I'll just name a few: Goodwill, Casey General Store, Clean Getaway Express, Chipotle, CIT Trucking, Aldi, Central Bank, outside lighting at the Splash Pad, LaSalle Peru Township High School. We now supply the electricity to everything west of Crozet Street to the LP High School. The only thing that we supplied previously was the football field in the practice field and part of the gymnasium. And we went into negotiations when LP did their remodeling. We went into negotiations with Ameren, and we asked for it all, for the whole school, everything west of Crozet. They asked, their counter was, they wanted it all. So we had our negotiations. They ended up handing it over to us, and so we supply LP. Like I said, everything west of Crozet is all Peru Power. The Public Works Department had a very busy year with 70 water main breaks. They chipped more than 270 piles of branches, serviced and maintained more than our 60 miles of roads, and pothole repair, leaf pickup, sweeping, snow plowing. And who would have thought on April 14th they were going to be snow plowing yesterday? I know we didn't think that was going to happen. So performing a routine repair and maintenance, catch basin manholes, lift stations. We have a very important lift station on the north side of Interstate 80 by the Arby's, which services the whole north half of Peru. It's an extremely important lift station, and it is a high maintenance item, and it's currently in engineering to put in a deep sewer, which will flow instead of being pumped, but it takes time. Engineering takes time, permitting takes time, everything just takes time. So that's what's happening right now. We recently unveiled and remodeled the mausoleum, and we've opened the facility to last rites. It's worked out well. I think there's been upwards of 5 last rites given there so that the families can be protected from wind, rain, snow, ice, heat, cold, and go in there and do the last rites. And then the funeral is finished from just the funeral director. They do need to keep the pallbearers so they can handle the caskets, but it's a beautiful facility, and it's being well used right now. Perform semi-annual flushing of the city's 500-plus hydrants, and I would like to say thank you to our public services and our electric department. You do a great job. You do it. We don't have an overabundance of people, and they do a great job of keeping up and doing everything and keeping our city running smoothly. Engineering and zoning. In 2018, the engineering department and the building and zoning department completed their merger into the new engineering and zoning department. One of the first actions of the department was to update the city's family of building codes to the 2018 code additions. The city's codes have been 5 additions behind. 2003 actually is what it was, and the new codes are tentatively scheduled to become effective tonight, April 15th. It's on the agenda tonight, I believe, right? Okay. In 2018, there were 266 building permits issued, which was a 13% increase from 2017. And the 266 permits represents almost $18 million, $17,867,000 of construction, which is an approximate 5% increase from 2017. We have quite a list of names here. I usually hesitate in throwing out names because you always forget, and then if you don't mention somebody after you've been mentioning names, you definitely hear about it tomorrow. So I'm not going to do that. So in 2018, the engineering department continued with multi-million-dollar capital improvement programs across the city of Peru. Some of the projects completed in 2018 construction season included St. John's Addition, Phase 1 storm sewer, improvements to Area 3, Phase 3 sewer separation. Sewer separation is in its 9th year of a 15-plus year, once again, unfunded mandate. That's the word that nobody, when you sit on this side of the room and these orders come down from the federal government and the state government, and they're unfunded. So we must do it, we're bound to it, but how are we going to pay for it? It's not easy. And you don't know what's coming next is the problem. Center Place Road stabilization, that was a project that was a must-do that kind of blindsided us because the hill started sliding. The Center Place is the road that goes up the hill over by the LP Stadium, the LP practice facility, and that was quite costly, and once again, it wasn't in the budget, so it's one of those things that was an emergency, you had to do it. So, the 2018, let's see here, we opened our much-anticipated splash pad, which was near completion in 2018, and we opened it for the public for the summer months, and the area where you have the shelters are now finished and open, and we have calls coming into the clerk's office for people that want to put their name down to use the shelter. And it's going to be it was a busy year last year, and it's going to be a really, really busy year down over at the splash pad this year. I want to thank the Carpenters formerly Local 195, which is now Local 174, for volunteering their time and putting those shelters up. The downtown TIF is now in effect, and we'll see what happens there. I want to mention, if you go up Plank Road right now, there's just past the Michelini farm, there's an area where you see new gravel, and you see trucks, you see heavy equipment. What that is Ameren that has nothing to do with the city. They're in their own right-of-way, and it's not our project, it's Ameren's project. They'll be starting at a gas substation, which is north of Shooting Park Road, and they'll be going north all the way to, let's see, the substation, Shooting Park Road, to a station north of North 31st Street on Dalmar Avenue. 31st Street is the east-west street that runs on the north side of Ecus. So they're going all the way up there with the brand-new gas line. And so it's North Shooting Park Road through the airport property, crossing Plank Road near the Ed Urban Drive, continuing north along Plank Road, then east into the farm field to a point in line with Dalmar Avenue to the north, then across Interstate 80, and continuing north across May Road and along Dalmar Avenue to their north station up by 31st Street. 7th Street water main improvements. We've been working on that since 2017, and the area I'm referring to is Pulaski Street to close to the stadium. And the city is currently in the planning phase of the Phase 1 water main improvement for the area along and adjacent to 7th Street. And the Phase 1 project planning began in early 2017. The city was unsuccessful in obtaining a DCEO grant for the project due to, get this one, once again, this goes back to your unfunded mandate. The reason we're not eligible for the DCEO grant is because, according to DCEO in their guidelines, our water rates are too low, so we don't even qualify to ask for a grant. They wanted us... We needed to have a water rate minimum of, I believe, in the area of $42. We're nowhere close to that, and because we're nowhere close to that, you're not eligible. I don't think it's a fair way of doing it. What we've been trying to find out, and it looks like unsuccessfully, we would be on the money collected because of the industry that we have in Peru. We would be at that cap if you put everybody in the same basket. We would be there, but we're not there individually. So they won't even let you try to find a grant. It's extremely, in my opinion, it's extremely skewed the way they're doing that. But once again, they have the purse string. They can do what they want to. So they did. But let's see, Phase 1 portion will begin at Chicago Street to the east and continue west to Pulaski Street. And that will be new water main, because we know that our water main is not in good shape over in that direction of town. We know that our water main is not in good shape in many directions of town. That's why you had 70 water breaks. We pretty much stopped doing just overlays on the roads where you'd go see the machinery come out, pick a block, pick 2 blocks, pick whatever, grind off the top layer, put down a new layer, and what invariably happened was those 150 old pipes underneath the road, you'd wake them up from their sleep, and then pretty soon up comes the water after you just spend anywhere from 40 to 70,000, depending on the road width and the block length, to repave that. Next thing you know, you have your crews out there digging it up. So now we replace the main, we replace the sewer pipe as necessary, repair and/or replace as necessary, and we put new curbs, new gutters, new sidewalks, and then a brand new road surface, and hopefully you won't be back for quite some time. I do have a map here that I'll hang up. You can see what's been done, what's planned on being done. But once again, we're in the 9th year of, I said, approximate 15 year, but we're not going to be finished in 15 years. So with that, the finance update, we invested in our infrastructure, which I was just telling you about an investment in our infrastructure with our many water projects. In fiscal year 2016, $6.8 million. Fiscal year 2017, $6.6 million. Fiscal year 18, $9.7 million, for a 3-year total of $23 million. Once it's all said and done, for fiscal year 2019, see, your fiscal years run 1 year ahead. So we're currently in fiscal year 20, so I'm talking last year. Once it's all said and done, fiscal year 2019 will likely end up around $7 million. It looks like our fiscal year 2020, we budgeted nearly $8 million in infrastructure upgrades. I don't think there's a town, I don't know where the town would be that's investing the amount of money in their infrastructure, their roads, their water, their sewer main, is what the city of Peru is. If they are doing it, I'd really like to talk to them to see how they're doing it, investing more than what we are. It's you know, with almost 70 miles of roads, and you can double that probably with the water mains, the sewer pipes, the electric lines. It's a big undertaking. There's one little tidbit of information. I don't have fact to back it up. I can't show, it wasn't my work anyway, it was the work of the engineers, not Eric, but one of the engineers, that at the current rate, the way we're repaving and rebuilding streets, at the current rate, those streets won't see any attention for 17 years after that. And we're putting millions and millions of dollars. Like I said, the last 3 years, $23 million that we've invested. So if there's a pothole somewhere, it's on our radar, and you might think that we're not doing anything or not looking at it, but we are. We're looking at it, but we're looking at it from the sense of a total rebuild. And this was one of the nastiest winters that we've experienced for quite some time now. So back to the finance, I'll go back to the beginning of the finance. We were Moody's rated A1 when I took office in 2009, Clerk Bartley and Treasurer Gary Hyla. The rating was downgraded shortly after that to a A3, right, to an A3. And then due to our fiscal responsibility and our hard work, we're able to bring that back to an A1. And then last February, we recently had an upgrading to a double A3. That's golden in the finance world. You can go to AAA. Not many communities reach and/or attain AAA. So we went to a double A. So if you do bond, your rates will be more favorable than if you didn't have a good rating. So we're very happy about that. And once again, it's due to a lot of hard work of the council, the finance department. Our former treasurer, Gary Hyla, did a wonderful job at it. And our current finance director, Justin Miller, is just absolutely fantastic. Sales tax notes. The city recently set a 12-month sales tax record. This little town of 10,000 took in $620 million of sales last year, which is an amazing number. We have a national firm hired that is a lead producer, and we work with them when we go to the ICSC conventions. And it was kind of comical because Economic Development Director Vickery and I were talking to a representative, and the representative said, I just don't understand Peru. You people don't make sense. But we don't make sense in a good way, meaning she said a town of 10,000 to bring in what you bring in, to have the stores that you have, it just doesn't make sense. So that's a good thing. And then we can float around with the $620 million in sales when we do go see people at these conventions. In cradle to grave, usually it takes minimum of 3, usually it's 5 or 6 years. Once you meet someone, you develop a relationship with that someone, and then you end up doing business. But it's not an overnight, and we have to go out and find them. They're not knocking on your door. We've been lucky with a couple that came knocking on our door, but the bulk of them, the majority, you have to go out and find them, and then it all turns into a relationship with these developers. The city reduced our debt by 17% over the last 12 months, and that's something for everybody on the council here to be very proud of, and the finance director. The city we are in the final year of 3 debt obligations that once we pay those off through 20, there will be an annual savings of $990,000, almost $1 million, that we won't need to pay out in repayment plus interest. So you'll be saving $990,000 in a little over a year just on because of repaying off debt. Then over the last 10 years, the city has reduced its debt by over 47%, which is astounding. I'm really proud of, like I said, the policies that the council puts into place, the policies that are presented to the council from our finance department, and I'll go back once again to Treasurer Hyla. He did a wonderful job when he was here. You know, I have a story that I was going to save it for a little bit later, but as long as I'm talking about it now, we were elected, we being myself, Quick Bartley, Treasurer Hyla, and Treasurer Hyla was appointed back in 2009. We took our oath of office on a Monday night, the 27th of April, and on Tuesday was a payroll day. We come in brand new, fresh, find out that there's not enough money in the account to make payroll. So, no, are you kidding me? So anyway, we fought through that. We've been ultra conservative, and we're doing very, very well at it. The citizens of Peru, you should be proud to know that your finances are well taken care of. The city of Peru's police and fire pension assets grew over almost $1.9 million over the year, which is very good. That's an 18% increase. We contributed 15% more than what the Illinois Department of Insurance asks us to put in to maintain our plan, and we've 15% more. That was something else that we ran into an issue when we came in back in 2009 with the pension, in being as low funded as what it is. I do have this is something that Justin Miller has dug up that we talked about. So he went to work and dug it up, and one of his interns did some of the work as well. Sales tax produced by municipalities in fiscal year 2018. So this has every town of the 1,302 communities in the state of Illinois. 1,302 communities, and Peru is ranked 74th, we're in the top 5.5% of communities in the state of Illinois. And this includes the big names. This includes Chicago. This includes Naperville, the Schaumburgs of the world. You know, this is population Chicago, almost 3 million people. Naperville, 150,000 people. Rockford, 150,000 people. Joliet, 150,000 people. Here we are, once again, we don't make sense, but it's a good problem to have. We're 74th out of this whole list of 1,302. So I asked Justin, let's go a little deeper. Let's make it a little more our size. So I said, pick out 15,000, put those cities together. So that happened. That puts us in the top 1% of all municipalities in the state of Illinois, of 15,000 and under. The only ones that are ahead of us the top five, we're sixth, which puts us in the top 1%. You have the Oak Brooks, Rosemont, you have a little facility over there called O'Hare Airport that transfers, 8 million people a year, something like that. And they only have 4,100 people, but they are a cash cow up there. But Rosemont is only just a little over $1 million ahead of the city of Peru, and that's something to be really proud of, and it attracts attention and opens eyes. So Oak Brook, Rosemont, Effingham, Countryside, and our good friends over in Morris. Morris is a community of almost 15,000 people, and they are a little over 200,000 ahead of us in their sales tax. So congratulations to Morris. I'd like to recognize someone that everybody in this room knows, Bill Velosnik. Bill Velosnik's, his term was up on the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners, Police and Fire Commission, and Bill Velosnik first said yes to Mayor Don Baker in August of 1965 when he started serving on the commission. And I talked to Bill before his time was up. I believe the time's up April 30th. I said, Bill, what would you like to do? He said, I'd be honored if you would appoint me. So we did that. Council gave a unanimous decision, and Bill Velosnik, 54 years since 1965 serving on that. He's had a piece of picking every officer that's been on the streets of the city of Peru since 1965. That's awesome. And he's still going strong. He still wants to do it. And one of his members, I see Greg Vaqueros back there, he's on it, along with Rolf Loveland. And Doug Bieterstedt recently retired from the planning and zoning. Doug Bieterstedt was appointed in 1967. So he's at 52 years when he finally decided that it was time for him to go ahead and retire. I don't understand why. Bill's 10 years older than Doug is, but he decided that it was enough. But 52 years doing that, and your faithful service to the city of Peru, my hats go off to him. We have our outgoing Alderman Dave Putta, who has a 28-year career on the city council, that's just boggling to me as well. He had a very good career, and the city was always first and foremost in his decisions. So we have the TBM committee, our 2019 event will be Friday night. There'll be an air show with lit planes and a band and beer garden, food, everything up there on Friday night. And I'm told that it's supposed to be a spectacular night air show up there, once again on Friday night, the 17th of May. Then on Saturday, the 18th of May, is when the big show happens. We're expecting, if Mother Nature agrees with us, we're expecting 12 to 15,000 people. It's a wonderful event. Parking's free, the entry's free, everything's free. The organizers are working very hard to make this happen. We're lining up extra parking in case we run out of parking, because like I said, if Mother Nature agrees with us, we probably will run out of parking. So put that in your calendar, please. You'll be the benefactor of it, because it's going to be a great show, and it's for the veterans, and it's a wonderful feeling to do that for your veterans. Recent additions to the city of Peru and the business community. Once again, I normally don't like to say too many names, but I'm going to throw a few names out there. And Spring Valley City Bank has a new facility in town, a new car wash which is under construction up by Menards. T-Mobile, Jersey Mike's, Northern White Sand facility north on Plank Road, which we upgraded and expanded our city by 300 acres up there, and that's all good, because that's all part of your EAV, and it's all the reason that we're able to keep our taxes as low as we can for the residents of Peru. We have the second lowest only to Seneca, Illinois, of our total tax bill. We're the second lowest in LaSalle County. Planet Fitness, Star Union Spirits, Chipotle, and we can't forget about all these with their $1.8 million in investment in their remodeling. I mentioned previously the building permits, but here's a fun fact. Since 2010, we have had 1,975 building permits issued in the city of Peru with a dollar value of almost $172 million of building in the city of Peru. Those are big numbers, and you can see that people, they want to be here. We have currently, as I said, from cradle to grave, it's time consuming. You must build relationships, and there's give and take, and there's back and forth. But we have over $50 million of work that's in our pipeline coming, which we'll be seeing ribbon cuts and groundbreakings and whatnot for another $50 million worth of work coming into Peru. So everything we do is of Peru, by Peru, and for Peru, and we want to thank everybody for their service. Now, I mentioned earlier that when we took office, we being the three newbies, mayor, clerk, treasurer, back in 2009, we couldn't make payroll. So you went into ultra-conservative. 2009, you're fresh off of the greatest recession since the Great Depression, and so you needed to go in ultra-conservative mode, and we have. And I've always likened it, I don't know if anybody in here recalls, but I've said it many, many times, that I want new carpet, I want a new couch, and I want a new car. Now all of a sudden, the roof's leaking. What do I have to do? What do I need to do now? What I need to do now is I need to fix the roof. So that's what we've been doing for the last 10 years. We've been working on the roof, and we're doing a wonderful job at it, and we're proud of it. Everybody that lives in Peru should be proud of it as well. But now it's time to start to think about a few other things, because we're at a point. We passed a reserve fund for our public services account. We passed a reserve fund for our general fund account. Our general fund account is a $14 million annual account, the general fund by itself. The city's a $50 million. It's a big business. It's $50 million. The bosses are the voters, and we're working hard for our boss to do what's best for the city, and we're doing it very responsibly. Now, what I would like to, I have a few cue cards here that I'm going to put out just for everybody to take a look at, and look where hopefully we're going next. Go into deeper consideration with the council, and we'll move on from there. So we know that we need a new police department. This police department happens to be the city of Glen Ellen, who recently opened this in June of 2017. It's a beautiful police department, and it's just a wonderful facility. Our police department is, there's upwards every day in there, 35 people. It's a 5,000 square foot facility. It's completely overtaxed. The last time it was touched for any major renovation was its inception, which it was a car dealer at the time, and that was in 1967 when that happened. And we do have a study that was done by Studio K Architecture, which is a property condition assessment report, and it's telling us that we do need to do something different. So I'm asking for the council, we need to start talking about this a little harder, a little stronger, and we need to act. We need to move on a new police station. We have to see, we had the CVS site, we still have the CVS site. We'll find out if we still have the CVS site after the April 30th meeting, because that's when pro formas are due for, see if somebody wants to purchase the CVS site. So we're going to need to go to somewhere different. We're going to need to look at our downtown. We're going to need to look at where's our expansion, where's the majority of our calls, what's the quickest way to go from point A to point B with the majority of your calls. So we have our work cut out for us, and I would like to see this start moving along. It's a beautiful building. It's nice, very, very nice. Second would be, we have putting a push pin in the wall, but it's in a place where the picture will be hanging back over it, so I'm not defacing the wall. Picture of a male and a female. I believe we're at the point now, and I would like the council's consideration and to put on a full-time Parks and Recreation Director / public events director, events organizer. I would like, we have room for it. I've said it. I know everybody on the council is aware. I've been saying it for quite some time. I believe that we're in the position now that we're capable of doing that, and I would like some more thought on it and to move forward with that. There's so much more we can do that we're not doing right now because we just don't have the manpower for it. You know, I applaud what LaSalle does. LaSalle, on almost all of their events, are done by the LaSalle Business Association, and the LaSalle Business Association does a wonderful job at it, and a lot of people working for one thing because they believe in LaSalle and they want to make it work, and they do a great job. I want to go a step further and have somebody on staff that we can go to that can listen to the council's ideas and listen to the people's ideas and have somebody here to do that. So with that, this is another. I mentioned Morris 15 minutes ago, and Morris has just put in a band shell. It's a very nice facility. It's nice. I believe we need one where I would want to put it. Now, once again, you know, I want this, I want that. We need this, we need that. What I'm going to show you here is probably right on the borderline of a want and a need. We have the concerts quite often on Saturday nights at the Maud Powell Plaza. It's well used, and back in the day of the administration prior to me, there was some events being held down at Centennial Park, and they were well represented with citizens there at many of those, and the people seem to have a really good time. I know Parks and Recreation, they have 3 or 4 music events in Centennial Park this year, so here's what I would like to see in Centennial Park. Band shelter. It's a beautiful facility. My opinion, my idea would be to have it on the south side of 13th Street, facing towards the park. The park, with the lay of the land, is a natural amphitheater, and it would be a well-used facility. And when there's not a band playing there, you could put your name in and have it for your family events, for your picnics, for whatever. It's a beautiful. Now, what I want to put out here is keep Wednesday, May 8th in mind. Wednesday, May 8th is a scheduled Finance Committee. Finance Committees start at 4 o'clock. They end, depending on the workload that's in front of everybody that night. So on May 8th, I'm going to call a town hall type meeting, so we can throw a few things out there. Citizens can come in, throw it out there, and we'll talk about it and see if you can make it happen. You know, theory is one thing, but can you make it happen? Like I've said all along, you must be fiscally responsible in everything you do. Don't make bad decisions. So what I'm going to show you here is when we did the splash pad and what we turned into the, I believe, CDBG what we turned into them was you had a basketball, you had sand volleyball, you had the splash pad, you had recreation equipment, playground equipment, and you had a future swimming pool. So, what I would like to do is, at that meeting, start talking about the possibility of your future swimming pool. Does it have to be, is it going to happen? I don't know. That's a decision that we're going to need to make. I will say this, when you come here for that meeting, there's pros and cons, and somebody has to be the devil's advocate. Some people might not be in favor of it at all. We did have on the ballot in March of 2014, we said that we would pay for it with an increased taxes on your property tax. We're reluctant to do that because we're very proud that we have the second lowest property tax combined in the county of LaSalle. And back to Seneca, who's lower than us, they're lucky enough that they have a $600 million nuclear power plant up on top of the hill from them, and they receive proceeds from that. I believe we're there. I'm not saying we're building one. I believe we're there when we can start some discussions on it and see where we go from there. Once again, how we would pay for it. In 2009 was the last year that the Peru pool was open. In 2009, it was a structure that was built in 1927, and the Peru pool in 2009 leaked 70,000 gallons of water a day. Our expense at the pool that year was $135,000, and our revenue was $17,000. Those numbers don't add up. They just don't add up. There's a pool that just opened recently up in one of the suburbs, and their entry into the pool is $25. We don't want a $25 entry fee on a pool. Who's going to go? Who can afford to go? But I believe it's time. On Wednesday, May 8th, we'll have a town hall style meeting at 6 o'clock, and we'll start talking about it. It'll just be open discussion. Nothing's going to happen overnight. Nothing's going to happen that fast, but we'll see if something can happen. Hopefully we would have something that we would be able to ask the residents if we come up with, we need some more money, if we come up with whatever it is, but put it on the ballot once again, and let our bosses, let the voters tell us what they would like. Hopefully we have a plan in place, something that we can ask the voters in March of 2020 at the primary, and we'll go from there. I'll put this, I'll tell you what, there's an easel in there, and we'll put this. What this is this is the map of the 2014 through 2018 projects, and the projects that are scheduled for 2019. It shows the area over here that I mentioned previous on 7th Street from Pulaski to Peru, and that's going to be a complete rebuild. So it's going to be inconvenient for those of you who live over there. Speaking of inconvenience, North Peoria Street right now is inconvenience, but the payoff will be great once it's done. I was informed today that Department of Transportation this year is going to be doing work on 251, I believe, from River to Interstate 80. So we have our North Peoria Street work going on. It looks like IDOT's going to be doing work on 251. It's going to be difficult moving around town this year. So keep your patience, and I guess you're probably going to have to allow a little more time, because there will be some road closures on North Peoria Street, so it's going to be inconvenient. But I've talked for 50 minutes now. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody? Mr. McCall?
The 7th Street project scheduled to begin?
I'll let Eric answer that. It's saying here we're looking at a 2019 project. We've been designing that since 2017. Since spring, early summer of 2017. You have to go through the design phase. Once you go through the design phase, you have to submit it to EPA, IEPA for permitting. And as I stand here and tell you this right now, we still don't have everything in place that we need. We have our design, we know what we're going to do. We're going to dig up the water pipe, fix the curb, fix the sidewalk, fix the and then fix the road. And then the road should be good for quite some time. And then also what we want to start looking at, Streeter just finished a road, Stanton Road in Streeter, and redid a brick road, which I've been telling our engineer Eric Carls that for quite some time. I'd really love to see some brick roads rehabbed. You know, I mentioned quite a bit earlier that if we go on a road today, it probably won't see us again for at the earliest 17 more years because of our close to 70 miles of roads, the amount of money that you're investing in which once again is a huge amount of money, especially for a town our size, that you won't see it anything for 17 years. The blacktop, quite frankly, it doesn't really last that long, 17 years. Now brick lasts basically forever. It's what's underneath that goes bad, you know, under the brick. So we want to look into that and see what it would cost to do a couple streets and see how it works. You know, the one in Streeter turned out very nice. We even reached out to a couple contractors, telling them, you know, why don't you buy a brick paver and give it a try. Maybe we'll have something for you to do with it, you know, in the future here. So we'll see, because that one was done by hand. So I don't even know what that cost at this time. I didn't hear yet, but it was probably a little costly. But once again, all the brick streets, the bricks are fine. It's what's underneath them, that the heaving and the thawing and the rough roads and whatnot. And we know that, but we're hesitant to put blacktop on top of it, because you're putting a Band-Aid on something that could be very, very nice. So once again, does anybody have anything? Nobody? I covered everything, A to Z, cradle to grave, and there's a lot of information here. You know, the council didn't know about these pictures coming up, and there's a lot of good discussion there. Like I said, we need the. You need the police station. You need this. This is between a want and a need. Right over here is, depending on who you're talking to and the way you look at it, it is a want or a need. But it's a huge investment, and it must be done responsibly, because as I also said, 2009 dollars were, I haven't looked lately, but we're probably in 2009 dollars versus today. 2009 dollars is probably only about 80 cents, and we had $135,000 in expense and 17 in revenue, and those numbers don't add up. So you have to figure out how you're going to do that, how you're going to pay for it. I know I told our finance director, Justin Miller, late last week, Thursday or Friday, I didn't mean to ruin your weekend, Justin, thinking about that, but it's just discussion points. You know, we've never forgot about it. We're just at the point that we're closing in on our 6 month of reserve in the general fund, $7 million. We're closing in on our reserve in the public service fund. We might even be there now. And now it's time to start planning. Start planning for some of these other future. So that's all I have. I thank everyone for coming out and listening to this, and it was a nice evening, and once again, thanks everybody for coming out, and that's all I have. And if there's no questions, I guess that's it. And if everybody has not had enough of this exciting City Hall chamber, we do have another meeting starting in 6 minutes for our business meeting, for our regular agenda, so it's exciting stuff. You should stay for it. Anyway, once again, thank everybody for coming out.
Okay, in terms of the committee of a whole, we are on to public comment. I know that the mayor asked for any questions regarding his presentation, but is there any other public comment before the committee of a whole? If there's no public comment, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Alderman Waldorf, seconded by Alderman Lukosius. All in favor?
Aye.
Committee of the Whole is adjourned.
Okay, and we'll start at 5 minutes, 7 o'clock.